I hate that girl. She's so girly.
We have Ella, Cinderella, our main character. I decided to give Ella short hair, and we thought it was kind of a brave move to give this girl short hair. Out of that modern feel, we ended up referring to certain modern actors from this era and even earlier from the 50s and whatever. And a couple of classic performances by certain actors came to mind, and we used those images to help us move forward. And with the same process as any other character in the film, we went through drawing out our ideas. The costume was a sort of an attempt, I think, to keep her some way kind of modern, but at the same time like a servant. So she has that apron. Her costume is a variation on the Irish flag. She's green, white and gold, or yellow or orange. She's a very muted version of the Irish flag, which was a bit of fun.
Hello? Oh, Rick, it's you.
I'm sorry to be such a disappointment.
With Rick, the challenge was much the same as it was with the other characters. He was a modern personality in an old-fashioned world. We tried to make him as much now as we could. So he's one of the things that somebody said to me was they wanted him a bit like a surfer, that he would have a certain vibe about him that was very much the rebel. We started to base Rick's look on a certain bunch of people. So we started to build up a mental picture of who Rick is. We played around with him having short hair one time. We didn't like it in the end. He made him too boyish looking. We wanted somebody who was maybe in their early 20s, late teens, early 20s, not somebody who was 14 or 15. We tried to put a 5 o'clock shadow on him, sort of like he hadn't shaved that morning. It was just an attempt to try and make him look a bit more older, a bit more mature.
Anna likes the dishwasher.
With Frida, we knew she was going to be evil. How evil is she going to be? Is she going to be the classic, fairy, evil fairy queen? Not really, although we did some sketches like that. We made her very much the kind of one that was in control of the magic, that could make herself appear, much like she does in the film, but much more dramatic with a big cape. And she's just Cinderella's stepmother who got lucky, you know. She went upstairs, found a magic stick and went, woohoo, all right, I'm going to take over. She wouldn't even have a clue how to behave like a queen, you know. She thinks she does. When we got our hair down, that allowed us to get almost like the cobra feeling. As a concept, she was a cobra. And then out of that came the drawings, different types of costumes, different types of dresses. And all these aspects of design crept into Frida. How modern should she be? What kind of ball gown should we make her wear? Should we make her wear exactly Venetian style stuff from the 16th century? We went into all this detail, and then we started to draw her face. We looked at Sigourney, looked at how her face is, try and visualize. How is this one what's gonna make her so striking? Well, again, we decided fire. Orange hair, she wears a red dress, she's, like an explosion. So she's almost like a fire demon.
I'm a prince of portals, a master of magic. Big deal, you're the doorman, door pig, hippo thingy. You know what you are.
Monk is one half of the oddball duo that work with the wizard. They're his assistants, Goofy, but Monk is a kind of the teacher's pet. He wants to impress the wizard at all times. Not really a pig, maybe he's a little hippopotamus, we don't know. We made his skin kind of yellowish because we didn't want him with the human flesh colour skin. And these ideas helped to formulate how they walk, how they move. We started to think, what clothes could he wear? They have these ridiculous waistcoats in Ireland, or vests that you buy, and they're all patchwork, they're like a patchwork quilt. So we thought, well, let's give him these patch kind of trousers, which are a bit weird, and maybe it's like he can't afford to get new trousers, so he's made them up from stuff he found. A picture of this guy starts to appear. He's got this big ridiculous hat, and in the end we had a very strange design, like a little basketball with short arms and legs. So Monk became this kind of weird hippopotamus pig thing.
I'm calling the boss.
Why? We fixed it. Don't call the boss.
With Mambo, he's very much your classic, typical animation style character that you've seen in lots and lots of cartoons. We still don't know what kind of creature he is. Maybe it is a muskrat, maybe it is a rat. I always said he was like a shaved squirrel. Maybe he was a smart-talking joker or jester in the court, and the king didn't like him anymore or something, or the prince, so he got turned into what he is now for being, having a big mouth, and that's why he's got the attitude. And I wanted to have a kind of cartoon character in the film that was familiar, but not one that we know. So that's why he has the big eyes. We had many, many issues with his look. His costume was a bit of fun as well. He had at one point very long, skinny legs. He has the classic kind of snout cat or dog nose, we're not quite sure. There was nothing about Mambo that changed in 3D from the 2D, which was amazing actually.
So, what do? Are you a fair maiden, lady in waiting, damsel in distress? I've got...
The Prince would have been one of the characters that really didn't change from the 2D drawing. There was some very specific sketches that were done of him. And then we started to take that sketch and sort of build on the idea of who this guy is. Was we all agreed that he was very much a character out of time. He's a guy that might have led a sheltered life. He lived in a big castle and lived in a period where things were a little different. We kind of had a joke about the 1980s kind of pop. There was a few bands that had ridiculous hair back in the 80s, so we definitely tried to do a little bit of that with his hair. He's not muddled. He's not fluffy about how he moves. He's quite direct and everything's big and broad. He's definitely not a method actor.
Stole a baby! That's about as evil as it gets!
With Rumpelstiltskin, there's a few classic horror kind of characters, and we decided to make fun of that and have a bit of, he's kind of creepy. He's got green skin, you know. So the whole idea was, how do we put that in a drawing? How do we capture that feeling? So we did a curved line. So we began with a bent wire, almost. And then out of that, we started to develop the idea of the big, you know, eyes and all this business. You try to explore, like you take, you know, there's a classic way of drawing, which you draw, imagine a mask here, like the Lone Ranger mask. And you take this and you squash it, and you get this kind of feeling, you know? And then you push that. Now in a cartoon, obviously the eye can go up here, but when this goes up, this goes down. So we started to pull the pretend muscles in his face. So, you know, you contort everything through drawings, and then we tried to recreate that in the computer. We started to play around with different positions and different expressions and different types of characters. We had maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 different versions of Rumpelstiltskin. And somebody, for fun in the studio, built a little statue of one of the drawings, and we all loved it. And that's very similar to the Rumpelstiltskin we have now. I got this idea that he's almost like a magpie because he steals something. And then we thought, sneaky, green, envy, you know, and started to build a colour palette for him. So he got more interesting looking. We have the wolves, the three main bad guys, if you want to call it, that Freddie uses to go and get Cinderella. The three wolves very much act as a group, but you can see the differences. I wanted to have them cartoony. You know, I wanted to have them more like big dogs or something. They have a certain traditional look to them. What I mean by traditional is hand-drawn.
Hey! No trespassing!
Yeah, can't you read?
I bet them's the ones took Snow White!
The Seven Dwarves, the challenge with those guys was that there's another bunch of seven dwarves that are very famous in another animated film. We have our seven dwarves are basically, I thought of them as a creature, one creature with a head that speaks, and that's dwarf number one, the big guy, the leader. There's one scene in the film when you see them all walking by a rock and you see the shadow of their hats. Well, I imagine they're a caterpillar. And that was a sort of an underlying theme, feeling that we wanted to have, that we wanted to keep them as a group that was sort of, didn't have really strong personalities.